It's a me. No, that's too exciting. Boo. It's a me, Mario, Peach,
Yoshi.
Wowie. What's up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. My friend and I dressed up like Mario and Luigi once. I wish I still had the costume, but I couldn't fit into it anyway, so let's do this. In case you don't know who Mario is, here's a quick premise for this film. So a Brooklyn plumber named Mario travels through the Mushroom Kingdom with a princess named Peach. The mission, assisted by Toad, is to find Mario's brother Luigi and save the world from a ruthless, fire-breathing Koopa named Bowser. Now, the voice cast... oh my god, it's extensive, it's ridiculous, and frankly, it was a bit worrisome. Before the movie started, you have Jack Black as Bowser, Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach. Of course, Mario and Luigi are played by Chris Pratt and Charlie Day. I was in a bathroom with Charlie Day once. It was cool. Well, that sounded weird.
What is wrong with you people?
This is a movie built for families, and I said this in my reaction. I'll reiterate this point. If I got this film, this 90-minute animated Mario movie, when I was 10 years old, I would have ate it up and watched it 1,000 times, grew up with it, and loved it on the level that I think a lot of kids are going to love it. That is, in my opinion, the target audience. But when your target audience is families, you have the kids and you have the adults. And while I think there are a few things in here for adults when it comes to nostalgic beats, searching for Easter eggs and moments, sound effects, a couple that I can't talk about now, that are really hardcore references and only the hardest of hardcore gamers will recognize. I don't play video games as much anymore, but anytime I do, it's Mario. That's what I grew up with. Super Smash Bros., Mario Kart, Super Mario Sunshine. My brother stepped on that as a kid. I thought I'd never have it replaced. I was devastated for 3 days. Then my parents bought another one. I'll never forgive you, Josh. Just kidding, it was probably my fault. And that's honestly how I'm trying to approach this movie. Look, this film has issues. It definitely does. We're going to dive into those here in just a second. I think the biggest problem is probably the fact that Illumination is the studio behind it, and I just haven't really responded to a lot of the Illumination movies. A couple of the Despicable Me films, and every now and then they have one that kind of surprises me, but overall, there is a shtick to this studio, whether it be using songs that don't really belong in that movie, but it makes for a fun soundtrack, or just overdoing it with the ridiculously comedic beats. I'm okay with comedic beats, but when you have this schlocky type of humor that is injected into a movie like this, where I just don't know if it belongs. There's a scene early on in this film that involves a dog, and that quirky, off-the-wall style of humor, it's going to work well for young kids to a degree, but I think back to a show like Looney Tunes and how that was able to do it, but do it in a way that felt clever. And when they try to inject this into Super Mario Brothers, it doesn't feel clever. It just feels cheap, honestly a little lazy, and they do it every now and then when it just feels like they could have done something more emotional, more important. They could have raised the stakes. They could have injected more story. When it comes to the story of the Super Mario Brothers movie, it is kind of what you expect, and maybe even less than that. The journey that they go on feels so quick, and that may be my biggest problem here, is the pacing. I mean, it's a 90-minute movie. Yeah, you want to feel like you're flying through some things, but not integral plot points. I mean, they go on a journey here, and they skip through all of these worlds and lands and moments that could have been so interesting. We could have paused for just a second to get one or two more conversations between Mario and Peach and something else to build up their characters, but we're just kind of highlighting our way through to the ending, and at a point, I'm becoming kind of just, okay, why can't we take some more time and raise those emotional stakes just a bit to where you feel a little better about these characters and what they mean to you? I mean, you know who they are. Mario, Luigi, Peach, Bowser, Donkey Kong, you get it. But I could have learned more about these versions of the characters in this movie. And I put out my reaction, and everybody's like, Austin, is it just the nostalgia that works? Are they relying on that to carry you through the movie? In a way, but I actually don't mind that this movie kept that so far at the forefront, because it's just really cool to see this translate into an animated world, not a live-action world. We've tried that before, and frankly, it was garbage.
Come and get it, lizard breath. Boo!
But this works. They're doing some really subtle camera tricks when Mario and Luigi are trying to get to work on time. The camera moves like it would in the video game, and they would jump up and down and move up the platforms and kind of scale these walls in a way that felt reminiscent. Yes, that's an Easter egg, but it's also just a really cool thing to put into the story. And then you have that brotherly relationship between Mario and Luigi. I'm a sucker for that. I'm glad they made that an integral, a main plot point in this movie. Chris Pratt, I was afraid they would have to work around him in this movie. I just didn't know if the voice would land, and I like Chris Pratt, but I didn't see the fit. But they do something in this film that I thought was really clever, and then the more we went, and it's not one of those, you just have to get used to it. No, I was actually getting used to it in a way that felt nice, refreshing, and he actually sounded way more like Mario than I anticipated. It's definitely a spin on Mario, but you know what? I don't think he was a problem. I've seen a lot of complaints about the voice acting. I genuinely don't think he was an issue in this movie. Anya Taylor-Joy was good. Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, I mean, he is Seth Rogen. It didn't bother me. Donkey Kong doesn't really have a voice other than... The standout for me is Jack Black. I don't know if everyone's going to love the obsession that he has in this movie, but it somewhat goes with the flow of what the games were, and it allowed us to play into what Jack Black does best, one or two moments where he kind of breaks into song, and those were actually moments that had me laughing. It's that style of humor that works for me, and I saw someone compare this to the Lego movie. I don't necessarily agree with that, but there are some moments that I thought were clever and fun and just really worked for the character of Bowser and that hatred that he has towards Mario. More positives. How about the animation? It's stunning. It's the best animation Illumination has ever done, bar none, no competition. And then you have the score that may just be the highlight of the film. It takes elements from the video game, and I could name, and I may even do a video on this, just naming all of the different moments and soundtracks and sound effects that they use from the classic Mario video games. One in particular that just had me grinning from ear to ear. It was awesome. But then on the other side of that, you have the soundtrack, where they start to bring in songs that are recognizable, and I'm just like... They always do that. Why do they do that? This movie doesn't need to be that. This movie needs Mario noises, Mario score, Mario soundtrack. Even when Donkey Kong comes on screen, they had a great moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And then they cut to a song that's recognizable, and I get you want to use that to get... But you don't need that. It's Mario. That's so... unnecessary.
You what?
I think an example of great humor in this movie comes from a character like Luma, who utilizes a more kind of horrifying approach on the situation that they're in. That was great. But then you have other moments where it's going for the belly laugh, but all you get is a mild chuckle. I'm curious to see how kids are going to respond to this. Again, I'll be honest with you. Do I think Chris Pratt was the definitive choice for the role? Oh my God, he's the only one we can get. No, but I've already seen some complaints, and I'm like, I get people don't like him, but he's not bad in this movie. He's not bad in this movie at all. He puts on the voice. It sounds genuine and natural. Maybe I'm just comparing it to the live-action movie in the... No. I'm talking too much. Before I give you my score, if you guys want to leave a like, if you want to just drop a like and help out this channel, genuinely, it would really, really, I appreciate it. I'm not begging. Yes, I am. The Super Mario Bros. Movie is going to work well for families. This massive world is interesting, the score is nostalgic, and the nods are so much fun. Also, Pratt is surprisingly good as Mario. The downside comes with the pacing and inability to make the overall story interesting. Regardless, if you are looking to take your kids to the theater this weekend, I genuinely think they're going to have a good time. I think you may have a good time with your kids. At the end of the day, that's what this movie's shooting for. That's all that matters, and I'm interested to see what you guys think. Please leave those comments down below. My final question to you all today is, who is your favorite Mario character? If I had to choose, Bowser, but a wild card would be Waluigi. Waluigi. I like him.